You pick Claude for a coding sprint, your teammate grabs GPT, and someone on the team is already running Gemini. Same monthly price, completely different results by Friday. Claude, GPT, and Gemini each want your codebase, and cost, raw coding chops, speed, context, and modality decide which one actually earns it. Alright, so test 1, cost. Most people assume the cheapest tool wins by default, so they never look past the price tag. But if all 3 subscriptions land at the same number, the price tag is basically useless as a decision signal, and you need something else to break the tie. I pulled the pricing pages for all 3, and Claude Pro, ChatGPT Plus, and Google AI Pro all clock in at exactly $20 a month, with Gemini technically at $19.99. So on price alone, you've got nothing to work with, which is kind of interesting because it means every dollar of value has to come from what each tool actually does with that money. Now, the gap here is literally 1 cent, which is not a real gap. So cost is a genuine 3-way tie. That's actually the most important signal this test gives you. Price is off the table as a tiebreaker. So everything else in this video is what actually decides your pick. Cost is a 3-way tie, all 3 tools at the same monthly price, so the scoreboard stays flat. 0, 0, 0, 1 tied. I expected at least one of them to have a pricing edge, but nope, they've all landed on the exact same rung. I've been living inside these 3 tools long enough to know exactly where each one breaks your workflow in ways you don't see coming. Drop a comment below if the pricing tie surprised you too. Okay, test 2, coding benchmarks. The objection I hear all the time is that benchmark scores are just marketing numbers and they don't mean anything in the real world. And I get that. But when you're handing a model a 500-line refactor and it returns broken logic, you want to know which one has the best shot at getting it right. On human eval, Claude 3.5 Sonnet comes in at 92%, GPT-4o at 90.2%, and Gemini 1.5 Pro at 84.1%. Though community reports flag that both Claude and GPT can over-engineer code in practice, so the real-world gap is probably tighter than those numbers suggest. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Claude takes coding benchmarks, putting it 1 up. Claude 1, GPT 0, Gemini 0, 1 still tied. I didn't expect the gap between Claude and Gemini to be almost 8 full percentage points. That's a pretty meaningful lead on raw coding reliability. Now, test 3, speed. 100 tokens per second sounds abstract until you're waiting on a model to finish generating a 2000 token function, and you've already lost your train of thought. Speed is the tax you pay every single time you hit generate, and over a full day of coding sessions, it adds up fast. GPT-4o runs at around 100 tokens per second. Claude 3.5 Sonnet sits at about 80. And Gemini 1.5 Pro trails at roughly 60. So GPT is about 25% faster than Claude, and nearly 67% faster than Gemini, though these are community-reported figures and your actual throughput will vary by load. GPT takes speed, and that evens things up. Claude 1, GPT 1, Gemini 0, 1 tied. I had Claude pegged as the faster tool just from feel, but the numbers put GPT clearly on top at 100 tokens per second. So right now, it's 1 each for Claude and GPT, and Gemini hasn't scored yet, but context and modality are still on the table. And those 2 dimensions could completely change who you pick depending on the kind of work you're actually doing. If you're processing long documents or video, the next results are going to matter a lot. Alright, test 4, context and output limits. You paste a 150,000 word codebase into your AI tool, and it just stops reading halfway through. Silently, with no error, you don't know which parts it ignored. The output looks fine, but it's built on half the context, and you only find out when something breaks in production. I had to run the numbers twice on this one. Gemini's context window is 1 million tokens, which is 5 times Claude's 200K and about 8 times GPT's 128K. And Gemini also doubles the output limit at 8,192 tokens versus 4,096 for the other two. Though community reports do flag that Claude sometimes drops the latest messages in long threads. Gemini takes context and output limits, and now the board is level. Claude 1, GPT 1, Gemini 1, 1 tied. I knew Gemini had a big context window, but 1 million tokens is a different category entirely from what Claude and GPT are offering. Okay, test 5, deployment and modality. You're building a pipeline that needs to process a screen recording alongside the code, so you need audio or video input, not just text. And if your tool can't read what you're feeding it, the whole workflow breaks before you even get to the output. All three are available via API and web, so deployment parity is real, but on input modalities, the gap opens up fast. Claude handles text and images only. GPT adds audio on top of that, and Gemini goes the full distance with text, image, audio, and video, which is a genuine differentiator no other flagship here matches. To be fair, most coding workflows don't need video input today, so for pure text and code work, this dimension barely moves the needle for a lot of people. But the moment your pipeline touches audio or video, Claude is immediately out of the running and GPT becomes a fallback, not a first choice. Gemini takes deployment and modality too, so Gemini pulls ahead. Claude 1, GPT 1, Gemini 2, 1 tied. I expected GPT to at least push this to a closer fight given its audio support, but Gemini's video input puts it in a different tier for multimodal work. So here's where Claude wins outright. It has the best coding benchmark score of the three. On Human Eval, a 200K context window that's 1.5 times GPT's 128K, and community consensus consistently rates it as the most direct and least sycophantic of the three, which really matters when you need straight answers on a tricky refactor. GPT's case is pretty clear. It's the fastest of the three at around 100 tokens per second. It adds audio input that Claude flat out doesn't have, and its Human Eval score of 90.2% keeps it competitive on coding even if it doesn't top the chart. So if raw throughput is your bottleneck, GPT is your pick. Gemini's wins are not subtle. 1 million tokens of context is 5 times what Claude holds and 8 times GPT's window. It doubles the output limit at 8,192 tokens, and it's the only one of the three that can take video as input. So for long document work or multimodal pipelines, Gemini is in a completely different class. If your work is primarily coding and you want the most reliable, direct output, Claude is your pick, with the top Human Eval score of the three. If you're processing massive documents or need video input, Gemini's 1 million token window makes it the obvious call. And if you need raw speed or audio support, GPT is your tool, because the monthly price is identical across all three, and your use case is the only tiebreaker that matters. One thing that doesn't show up in any of these benchmarks: Claude users consistently report hitting usage caps within minutes of starting a heavy session, and the cap resets on a rolling window that I couldn't find clearly documented anywhere on the pricing page, so you can pay for a subscription and still lose access mid-refactor. And if you want to go deeper on the model versus model coding question, I've got a full breakdown on Fable 5 versus GPT 5.5 that takes this a lot further, so check that one out next and see how the newer generation stacks up against everything we just covered here.